Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the Built Environment Marketing Show. It is our 4th birthday. So this week on July the 3rd, 2020, I launched the very first episode of this podcast. Of course, the podcast is still hosted by me, Ayo Abbas, and I am a marketing consultant, speaker and trainer, and I work predominantly with built environment firms. When I launched the show on the 3rd of July 2020, my first guests were Rob Sargent and Rachel Bell from Stride Tregaron, who didn't know me but kindly took a chance on me starting out as a podcaster and writing to them saying, "I love your stuff, will you come on my show?" A couple of name changes and some format changes along the way have happened, but the premise of the show has always remained consistent. The aim of this podcast is always about showcasing marketing best practice for built environment firms. And yes, I really do write to people and just say, "I love your stuff, will you come on?" And many of them actually say yes, even if they haven't heard of us, which is lovely. I think one of the things for me is that there are so many fantastic marketeers and we're often hidden behind the figurehead of a firm. We're often seen as the support. We're often not the kind of, we're not always the kind of core of a business is what I like to say. And I think in some ways, we need to take the spotlight more. We need to show our value, particularly now as the market's getting tougher. Because if we're not showing our value, we're actually talking about how absolutely fantastic we are and the work that we do and how important it is to their businesses, we're easy to get rid of. And that's one of the reasons why I think best practice and showing how things can be done, and I guess just inspiring other marketers to do even better, is another part of the show. It definitely has to be. Anyway, with the Built Environment Marketing Show, it is produced by me, scripted by me, hosted by me, and also paid for by me. It's an independent podcast. So if any way that you can support it would be really great because it is a lot to do. So make sure you're following us on Apple or Spotify, depending on where you listen. Make sure you do leave us a review because that's really, really handy. It means we get a lot more traffic and a lot more people finding out about the show. And also, if you like the show or you've heard something you've learned, why not do a little post on socials? That always works. Tag me in as well. I can be found at Ayo Abbas, both on LinkedIn and also on Instagram. Twitter, don't really bother with that, or X. It's a bit of a cesspit. Also, one more thing you could do is if you like the show, share it with someone else who you think might find it valuable as well, because that's also a great way of spreading the word. I have to be honest and say that I had a few weeks off because I needed a break, really. But now I'm kind of back in the swing of things. So in 2 weeks' time, there will be one more episode from me. And then after that, I'm going to do a very special mini-series called Practical Snacks, which will be 10-minute weekly short episodes, practical tips on topics like SEO or website homepages. And actually, if you've got any ideas on what topics I should cover, little short episodes, little small topics, do email me, ayo@abbasmarketing.com, because I will be recording that in a couple of weeks' time. So I might be able to cover it. So thank you. Anyway, back to today's episode. And today, what I did was I put out a special question, which was, what marketing tip would you give to a practice starting out today? And some lovely people have left voice notes for me, and that is going to make up the majority of this episode. So let's get on and listen to the show. Enjoy. Strategy.
Hi, Ayo. It's Julia Nichols. I would say my one tip is to make sure that you're thinking strategically. Because I feel like long-term thinking is often something that falls to the bottom of a to-do list while you focus on the kind of day-to-day demands. And I also think it's something that some people find an uncomfortable aspect of their business, and so they kind of ignore it until their project pipeline looks a bit sketchy. But for me, all communications activity should be strategic. What I mean by that is supporting your future goals by making meaningful connections with the people you want to be working with. And if you're not sort of working towards a plan, you risk not being recognized in your specific sector, not being front of mind for upcoming opportunities, failing to highlight how your skills can support clients, and not using your time effectively. So for me, it's really crucial to be thinking long-term strategically from the start. 3 top tips for thinking strategically would be, firstly, to create a business vision. Secondly, to understand who it is that you're talking to, that you'd like to be working with. And thirdly, assess the tools that you have at hand and which ones are going to suit your audience the best. And I think that once you know yourself and your vision, and you know your audience is better, that brings clarity to communications and establishes you as a supportive, knowledgeable, and helpful ally. That's my tip.
My one piece of advice for someone starting a practice today would be to start thinking about communications from the very outset. This is your chance to set an agenda and shape how people perceive your work and ethos. If you're unsure on the best route, then look at what your peers are up to and ask around. Don't just sit in your studio and wonder why the phone isn't ringing.
Hi, I'm Pascal, and my marketing tip for any practice starting out is to be absolutely focused on your superpower. What makes you unique? What makes you stand out? What can you do better than anybody else?
Audience.
Hello. The marketing tip I would give is not to start from scratch with understanding your audience. There's a lot of information already out there, and you can access a lot of it. You may well have to pay for a bit of it, but I do think that you shouldn't start from scratch and try and understand the people that you're trying to serve unless you've actually looked at what's already out there. Thank you very much. This is Linda Thompson, LT Research. Thank you. Bye.
Hi, this is Amy from Markedly. My one tip for marketing for practices starting out today would be to really understand your audience well before you start any of your marketing activities. And the reason I say that is because it allows you to position yourself right in the market. It allows you to choose the right platforms to use to be able to market your practice. And it also allows you to use the right tone of voice so that you know that you're talking to the right audience so that you can attract the right types of jobs to your practice. Good luck.
Hi, this is Shirin Iqbal. My one tip for a new business would be to really understand your audience. What do they want to hear from you? What do they need to hear from you? And how can you translate your USP into something meaningful for them?
Branding and final thoughts.
My one tip for starting out in a new business today would be to work out your brand, not just your logo, because your brand is not just your logo, but to work out what you stand for, your tone of voice, who you'll be delivering to, and then you can work out all the fun, nice stuff in creating the graphics and the presentations. But my one thing would be to tell people who you are and to get your branding across there, to tell people who you are. And the way to do that is to get your branding out there and to make it consistent, definitely make it consistent. So that goes across from your website to your social media and also your presentations that you deliver to your clients. Have something consistent. And again, if you're starting out in business, it's great to have a brand in place and you don't have to go all in because at the end of the day, you are starting out as a company. And if you're a small business, you're starting out, you won't have lots and lots of finance to invest in a brand. But if you have, of course, that's great. But if you haven't, I would say start small. You can actually do a DIY branding yourself. And then I would move on to a bigger company once you're more established and you've got things in place. But again, consistency is the key. So I would, if I was starting out today, I'd always advise people to start off with a brand and not just your logo, and have things in place. So when you're handing out presentations to people, they can see your company name, they can see who you are, and then if somebody handed that brochure to somebody else, they know who you are. And also, and if they went to follow you up online, they'd see the same branding in place. So again, just keeping it consistent across all channels. That would be my one tip. And I'm sure there are many others, but that would be my one particular tip, especially coming from a background in design and setting up brands for companies. It's always good to have your brand in place and your guidelines to keep it consistent. I hope that helped.
Hi, I'm Alex McCann from Manchester-based social media company Aldringham HQ. And my biggest tip for a practice starting out today is don't just leave marketing to the marketing department. Marketing has to be across the whole organisation. And that means getting your staff involved from every department or as many digital champions as possible, putting their messages alongside a consistent brand message on social media. So yes, that means LinkedIn for all. Yes, that might mean Twitter or X for all. Or yes, that might mean just contributing towards the Facebook and Instagram content in terms of photos and videos. More voices, more amplification, and people care more about people than they care about logos.
Hi, I'm Ashley Fogel, Director of Marketing and Comms at 10 Design, and my one tip absolutely has to be that communications within the architecture industry don't need to be serious to be taken seriously. Really do show your personality and process. Thanks.
Thanks so much for listening to the Built Environment Marketing Show. Don't forget to check out the show notes, which will have useful links and resources connected to this episode. You can find that on abbasmarketing.com. And of course, if you like the show, please do share it with others on social, as it helps more people to find us. See you soon.